Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. This is your host, Howard Fox. The Outdoor Adventure Series celebrates individuals and families, businesses, and organizations that seek out and promote the exploration, conservation, and enjoyment of the great outdoors. Our guest today is John Asselin. John has been with the Bureau of Land Management since August 2016 as a public affairs specialist and is responsible for communication for Red Rock Canyon and Sloan National Conservation Areas and Gold Butte National Monument. John, welcome to the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And I want to give a quick shout out to Erin McDermott, who's the executive director of Friends of Red Rock. And she made that introduction for us. And so very appreciative of that. And just, John, I really think it's really important, especially as the weather is starting to warm up. And actually in Nevada, you can kind of go out almost all year, except in the hot days of summer, but the BLM is just all around us here in Nevada. And I thought our listeners really, I think, should learn more about what is the BLM and what impact it's having on our day-to-day lives of getting out and enjoying the great outdoors. So you're in a great spot being with us here today, and just would like to learn more about you, a little background and about your activities at the BLM. Okay.
Sure. So here in Southern Nevada, there is a large amount of public land available for people to use. And there's also the unique thing down here of having two national conservation areas, and then also right here in the Las Vegas area. And then also just an hour and a half up the road, we have Gold Butte National Monument. And probably the most unique one of them is Red Rock. Red Rock Canyon is a national conservation area. A lot of people think of it as a national park, but it's a national conservation area. And I've been blessed to, in my later life, to have found myself being responsible for the communication for those areas and being able to go out there and learn more about it.
John, what's the difference between, say, a national park and a national conservation area like Red Rock?
So a national conservation area is congressionally designated, and it's the primary mandate for a national conservation area is conservation of the resources, natural resources, cultural resources. And then on top of that, in some places, national conservation areas are also popular with recreation. Like Red Rock Canyon is a good example, is a lot of recreation, but at the same time, we have that conservation mandate because it is a national conservation area and not a park. But it comes off as being a park because of that quality visitor experience that we try to provide, even in balance with that conservation. And actually, the biggest part there is getting people in and educating them on being good stewards of the land. So the visitor center and all that is really designed not just to explain to people what's out there, but also to explain to people on how to be good stewards of the land and to conserve those areas.
You know, that brings up a question, and typically would save some of these for the end, but if somebody wants to get involved in learning about the stewardship, the conservation, and obviously Red Rock Canyon has the visitor center, how do the public, people like me, for example, get involved and actually get out there and help to make the difference in terms of the conservation and the stewardship?
Well, we're always looking for volunteers. Like most places, there's never enough people to really cover what you would like to do and like to take care of. So we rely heavily on volunteers. And you had brought up Erin McDermott from Friends of Red Rock Canyon. They are a partner of ours, and they help with getting together, volunteer groups and taking care of things like that. So really the best thing is if you'd like to volunteer to do things, and there's many different things that you can volunteer to do, either contact us down here at the Nevada district at 702-515-5000 is our main number. Just tell them you're interested in volunteering somewhere, and they'll hook you up with a volunteer coordinator. Or you can contact Friends of Red Rock Canyon, and that's what they do, is take care of volunteers and set up projects and that sort of thing.
So that It reminds me of a kind of a mutually beneficial relationship here. BLM is a part of the government, and then you've got this volunteer organization. How has that relationship evolved? Especially, I'm thinking COVID the last 2 years, and thank God I just moved to Las Vegas 2 years ago. It'll be in July, and thank God for being able to get in my car and go outdoors to a place like Red Rock. And I don't know what I would have done. And so, how do you navigate that relationship to provide the maintenance, the stewardship, conservation activity, get people involved at the same time? Because it seems like there you both have each other, you both have a similar yet a little bit different mission.
Yeah, well, over the last couple of years, it's been a real challenge for all of us because you can't get large volunteer groups together when you have a communicable disease out there, and that's before the pandemic started. The like Friends of Red Rock Canyon set up these graffiti cleanups. There's a lot of cleanup stuff that needs to be done because you know some people are not good stewards of the land,
Right.
and so they would get together groups and do that sort of thing. And then also we have a lot of issues with around the perimeter of the city. You have that urban nature interface, and there are some people who think it's okay to just go dump their trash out in the desert. So we have a huge problem with that in some areas, and that's something that we have to rely on volunteers for. We have one person who's responsible for desert cleanup for more than 3 million acres of land that we cover.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, so he gets together volunteer groups, but over the last 2 years, it's been difficult to do that sort of thing. So he's been going out and, you know, doing as much as he can on his own and getting together small volunteer groups to go out and do cleanups and that sort of thing. But
Okay.
with our partner organizations like Friends of Red Rock, we work very closely with them. They're right there in the Red Rock administration building. So there's always that communication back and forth on things that need to be done and things that they can help out with and that sort of thing. So it's a really a great partnership, and all of our partners are a joy to work with and really help us to get more in touch with the local community. Although even though I'm part of the local community, I've lived here for 13 years, it's good to know what other users are looking for, because I like hiking, but I don't do mountain biking or very little mountain biking, and I don't rock climb at all. So getting input from those organizations as well, Southern Nevada Climbing Coalition, the Southern Nevada Mountain Biking Association, we stay in touch with those groups as well, just so we can have that input on how to better provide a quality experience for everyone while still being able to have a balance.
Okay. You mentioned you have been in Nevada for 13 years. I'm curious, how did you get here? I mean, what has been your path? Because from my perspective, I mean, I have no doubt you have a hard job with all those, the acreage alone. But how did you get here? I mean, it's such a wonderful place.
The United States Air Force brought me here. I spent 21 years in the Air Force active duty. I retired here in Las Vegas, and I met my wife here, and she's lived here since she was about 12 years old. So this is her home, and her family lives here. So, and I like it here. So I stayed here, and eventually when I retired from the Air Force, I took some time off, got a job with the Forest Service, working up at Mount Charleston at the Visitor Center, telling people about hiking and camping, which is a wonderful thing to do all day. It's pretty cool to meet a lot of people and explain different things to them. And then the job opened up at the Bureau of Land Management, and I applied for that and got the job here, and just really sort of fell into just a wonderful job working with Red Rock Canyon and Sloan Canyon and Gold Butte and all these really nice outdoor areas where we can go out there and take people out there and show them around and tell people about the great things that they can do out there. But yeah, it was the Air Force brought me here, and did 21 years in the Air Force doing the same thing I do now, public affairs.
Wow. And I can imagine every time you go outside in some of these beautiful areas, you have to pinch yourself and like, this is where I get to work.
Yeah, I've been able to do that for like most of my working career. In the Air Force, it was you'd go out on the flight line, and the jets would be taken off, and you're taking media out there and explaining things and thinking, man, I'm getting paid to do this. And now it's the same sort of thing when you go out there in the field. We were just out shooting some video out in Sloan Canyon last Friday, and we're walking the petroglyph trail, and it seems like almost every time that, and I'm out in the field, not all the time, but as much as I can, and just walking along thinking, wow, this is my job. How did I fall into this? This is wonderful.
You are one lucky man, and I have to admit, I'm sorry to admit. Let me rephrase that. I have not been to Sloan Canyon yet, and it's like I think it's part of my backyard because I live in Henderson, so I think it's like right behind me.
Yeah, there's a lot of access points to Sloan Canyon. So some people who, like the people who live in Anthem, there's an Anthem access, and they think of that area as Sloan Canyon. And then there's the McCullough Hills access, and the people who live in that area think of that as Sloan Canyon because it's just different accesses to Sloan Canyon. And then we're presently working on the design and engineering for a visitor contact station that's over there in the Inspirata area, and that's and actually it's a good spot for it because that's where the beginning of that's where the petroglyph trail goes back, which is a popular trail. But there's all those houses being built out there, so it's a great area. All those people are starting to come out there now anyway, so it's a great area to have that visitor contact station to make contact with people and explain to them the importance of taking care of the cultural resources out there and just educating people and once again being good stewards of the land. And that's a great capture point for them there.
Sure. And is there a special place that you like? It's your like hidden secret, your secret. I was like, I'm only going to share this with just a few people because I don't want everybody to know this. Because I mean, 13 years, you got a sweet job, you get out there, you have great conversations, get people interested. But does John Asselin have a place that's like really special for him, his wife and family and friends?
I would say here, no. I mean, there are our go-to places that we go to and love, but as far as secret places, we don't really have our secret places. When I was younger and living back in Michigan, I had my secret places up north. But as an adult, no, I don't have my secret places, but I do have my favorites that tend to be both my wife and I have our favorites that we go to, but plenty of other people go there too. They're not secrets at all.
Okay.
Would you like me to explain them?
Why not? Go ahead.
Okay. So for each area, I have my favorites, like Red Rock, and this is going to sound silly because it's also favorite among tourists is Calico Basin, or I'm sorry, Calico Tanks. I love the Calico Tanks Trail. It's a beautiful trail. It's not terribly long. It's not terribly hard. And at the end, if you've got a nice clear day, you can go up to the top there and you can see the entire valley, the entire Las Vegas Valley. So but just the trip up and the trip down it's just beautiful. The variety in what you see out there is impressive, and I like that. And then Mount Charleston, we're big fans of Trail Canyon. Another one people will probably laugh at us for because it's difficult. It's just all uphill, but there's something about it. It's beautiful. We're used to it. When you get to the top, there's this huge relief because you just went up 1,500 feet in a mile and a half. Yeah. And it's not as popular as some of the very popular trails there. So you don't run across too many people up there. You get that solitude there. And so those are the two real close here that I like. And then there's up at Gold Butte, and Gold Butte's not as easy as everything else around here. Gold Butte, you need a vehicle to get back to some of these places. You need a vehicle that's high clearance with great tires and four-wheel. But the Falling Man Trail back there is not too terribly difficult to get to, and a great trail. I really enjoy it, and it's not very long, and there's something there's something about that area there. It's just the way it's laid out. It looks like a movie prop, a movie set almost. It's just naturally grew into something that looks like it was made from a movie set. It's just really just a beautiful area.
Well, I think I have a couple of places I want to go visit. Now, I am just starting hiking, and while I like very gradual inclines, I don't know if I can do the Trail Canyon that you described on Mount Charleston, but yet, maybe next year. But it sounds like some fantastic places. I would love to see Gold Butte as well. I'm imagining a Subaru Crosstrek is not going to be sufficient for that area.
Oh, super! Yeah, it should be. I mean, you've got enough ground clearance and four-wheel drive, and as long as you got some good beefy tires on there, I wouldn't use like people who have racing tires on their cars or the regular tires you would have on a regular family car. But you get pretty good tires on a Crosstrek. Yeah, that should be good. Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to definitely have to check that out. We'll provide the backlinks to all the locations in the show notes. In the work that you're doing is as the involved with the communication and just having these conversations with people and doing your public affairs type work. Are there instances where people are just really surprised at the level of work that you and your team and in the teams of volunteers are actually doing? Are they surprised of where, for example, the tax dollars are going? It's like, well, I didn't know you guys did this. This is great. Do you ever get that kind of a reaction?
Yeah, I think so. Most people just like you go into Red Rock and there's not really a thought of how things are managed there or put together. And that's a good thing because we don't want people coming out there trying to figure out how things work. We want people to come out and have a quality visitor experience and have all that, not see what's going on in the background. That's, we want them to have a good time while they're there. But, some people are curious, like me, who would ask the questions of people. And yeah, some people are very surprised at not only the small number of people that, are actually working there to take care of these things. Although we've got more in over the last year or so, but and that was bringing up the whole thing with volunteers and how much we rely on partners and volunteers. And I think people are surprised by that and the level of what goes on there because most people, they don't see the graffiti, that's tucked back in these corners where people don't go, and they don't see the trash that ends up in some areas because in the main areas, it's easy to clean up, but those ones that are tucked back, you have to send them back with groups. And another partner organization, Backcountry Horsemen, will bring out their horses and mules and carry out the water for the groups that are going out there to do these graffiti cleanups, or because people paint on the rocks. Yeah, yeah, it's amazing some of the things you'll run across out there. But then all these partner groups will get together. Plus, we'll get volunteers from the casinos downtown. Love to send volunteers out. The Air Force loves to send volunteers out, and we'll get these groups to go out there, and it's really kind of a cool operation. And it's funny when you have hikers that are out there who see us going out and doing this, and they're like, wow, I didn't know this sort of thing was going on. So yeah, people are surprised when they start hearing about these little things that we do, and that needs to be done in order to maintain something we're expecting 4 million visitors in 2022. So it's been going up every year. And so so it does require quite a bit of background work in order to keep something like that going. And that does surprise people when they hear about it.
Very interesting. And I have to say, I am like, I need to get out of the house more. I mean, I do a lot of work in front of the computer, my coaching work, my podcasting work, what you and I are doing right now. And there's work, a lot of stuff goes into that. But I need to spend more time outside getting exercise and enjoying the land. And I'm really beginning to think, I think the best way to do that is just to come and volunteer. And
oh yeah, that's a great way, because you see the big thing about going out and hiking in the desert here, and I guess it really applies in a lot of places, but you really have to watch out for safety. And I really don't suggest anyone go out and hike alone. I know a lot of people do it, and a lot of people have been hiking for years and go out and hike alone, but I don't go out and hike alone. I always make sure that someone's with me, and I always make sure that someone else other than us knows where we're going to be, just in case something happens, because things happen, and there's not cell phone service in a lot of the places down here. So it's good to have that extra person in case you need help.
sure. Yeah.
So volunteering is a great opportunity, especially for people who don't have someone to hike with, because then they go into a group, and they're going with a group of people who have been to some of these places before, and you learn about these trails, and then eventually those become, your hiking trails. So volunteering, yeah, that's an excellent way to break into hiking in this area, and meeting some people and some hiking friends, actually, because these people who volunteer are hikers.
I love it. I love it. Being a part of the Southern Nevada District Office, what type of coordination goes in with the other offices inside Nevada?
Quite a bit. So of course we have borders, and people especially when you get close to where one district ends and another district starts, some people will they don't understand what's going on in one district or another, and they'll come to us and it maybe need to go to the Ely district or the Battle Mountain district. So we all know each other. Or no, we don't all know each other, but like in the public affairs world, we meet, we have a call every week. We all know each other, and then in the other fields, they're working back and forth with people from the other districts. And sometimes we actually got some work going back and forth between the states too. We do chat quite often with the folks in California and also Utah and Arizona.
Okay. Looking ahead 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if it's possible, what do you see as some of the challenges that the BLM will have? Specifically, let's just use Southern Nevada. This is your area, with the continuing focus on stewardship, conservation, and the enjoyment. What are those challenges that you see?
Well, number one's increased population and visitation. We've been watching that over the last few years. Let's use it, Red Rock as an example, because it is the most popular or the most visited national conservation area in the BLM. So at Red Rock, the first time we broke 1 million visitors at Red Rock was in 2012. And we're expecting to break 4 million this year. So that's 10 years.
That's a lot.
It went from 1 million to almost 4 million. And we're expecting 5 million by 2025. So the biggest challenges are being able to accommodate that many people, especially in places that are national conservation areas, because you can't really, we recently expanded parking lots, but it's not like you can just start building bigger and bigger parking lots. You can't disturb those areas. And there's just really not the places to put them. So it's working with the increase of people coming in. And then the theme here of being good stewards of the land is being able to teach all those people. We have so we do that through our Facebook page. We'll also do that through the visitor center out at Red Rock. We're building the visitor contact station, or we'll eventually be building that visitor contact station out at Sloan for that purpose of educating people about the area and the importance of protecting natural and cultural resources. So really, that's the big thing. And I spend a good deal of my time is educating people on protecting natural and cultural resources, capacity type messaging, and then safety. Because when we start rolling into the summer, it's amazing how many people will go out and just go hiking when it's 110, 115 degrees. And that can be, very dangerous. When you start getting above that 105, 108 area, it starts becoming very dangerous. You really can't carry enough water for any hike longer than a mile.
Right.
And things as simple as a twisted ankle could be a life-threatening injury in that situation, because you don't have cell phone service in a lot of areas. And if you run out of water, you're just out there baking in the heat. And another thing is I have to tell people every year is about proper clothing. People don't think about it, especially the visitors that we get from out of state who don't really come to places that are 100 and some degrees. Once you get above your core body temperature, you don't want your skin exposed, because the heat's not going out, it's coming in. So you want to have that sweat layer. So telling people when it's 110 degrees out to wear long pants and long sleeve shirts and a big brimmed hat, they're like, it seems counterintuitive to them, because they're like, why would I cover it up my sleeves? I'm trying to get that heat out. But the problem is the outside heat's harder than your inside heat. So what you're really trying to do is keep in that sweat layer so you slowly evaporate and cool yourself over time. So that's one of the biggest challenges, is just explaining to people safety, because there's a lot of things that you just don't think about if you're not doing this all the time.
It's funny. Last year I went hiking at Valley of Fire, did an early morning hike, and I just remember seeing folks going down this trail, and it wasn't the hardest trail in the world. It was relatively flat, but there was flip flops, there was gym shoes, and a bottle of water, a liter bottle of water, maybe smaller. And I just thinking, this is not going to, I'm sure it ended well, but it's going through my head is like, this will not end well, because I could never do that. If I didn't have my 3 liters of water, I don't know what would have happened,
Yeah. And what's funny is that's an everyday thing, going out there and seeing people hiking in flip flops and it's just funny because there are thousands of things that our rangers have seen that are just kind of stunning. One example, this just happened a few years ago. One of the rangers out at Sloan Canyon was going out there and close up the gates for the night. And the gate just means you can't drive up there. You can still walk up there. And there was somebody parked down by the road, and he was leaving, and the guy was getting out, and he was walking up. And so the ranger said to him, because he had nothing with him, it was just him walking. He says, "Hey, where are you headed to?" And he says, "Oh, I'm going back to the petroglyphs." And it was like 100 and some degrees outside. It was the summer. And he says, "Have you been back there before?" He goes, "No, I haven't, but I've got the map. I know where I'm going." He goes, "Well, where's your water?" And he goes, "Oh, my water's in the car." And he goes, "Yeah, your water in the car is not going to help you out there on the trail. You need to take water with you." And eventually, after talking for a few minutes, the guy decided that maybe this would be a better idea if I did this in the morning when it wasn't hot. And so he turned around and came back another time. But those are the sort of things you have to bring up to people. And it's funny because a lot of people are like, "Wow, I didn't even think about that." But there's 1,000 stories about that where you bring up something like, "Oh, I didn't even think about that it would be that dangerous." But you can make it a whole lot safer. So, like a lot of people have asked me over the years, what sort of dangerous animals do I have to worry about out there? And I said, well, the most dangerous animal you have to worry about is yourself.
I knew you were going with that.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Because people are worried about venomous snakes. Yeah, watch out for venomous snakes, but they're not everywhere. I've run across one once in Southern Nevada in 13 years, and I've never seen a mountain lion. I've heard about them being around, but I've never seen a mountain lion or coyotes, or I don't think we have wolves here. So, but yeah, the biggest thing is people are so focused on the venomous snakes that they're not thinking about that they're in flip-flops and don't have any water. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
So I've got a question. If you were to look back at your career, John, and what you've achieved, the Air Force, working as a public affairs specialist and with the BLM, anything you would tell your younger self, or would it be, you're on track, my friend, you're on track? What would that be?
Boy, that's a tough one.
Didn't I tell you I was going to have a gotcha question? I think I told you that.
Yeah. I boy, that's hard because like with any job, there's very frustrating days, and then there's days that are not at all frustrating, that are wonderful, and the things that you're just amazed that you're able to do this. Boy, I don't know. I think the big thing would be, now that I'm thinking about it, to my younger self, is when the really cool things happen, document them and then just save them. So then when you're having a rough day, you can go back and look at the cool things you've done. And that also helps when somebody asks you the cool things you've done and you're like, "Oh, I got to think about that." Because there are a lot of that I've looked back on and be like, and I'll remember a couple of things and I'll be like, well, that's an amazing thing that most people don't get to experience. And I think by writing those things down and documenting them, that when you have those rough days where it just seems like nothing's working and you're really annoyed, to go back and look at those cool things that life has given you as you've gone along through your career. I think that's probably something I would tell my younger self.
Fair enough. I love it. I love it. So another question I have is about equipment. Now, and the reason I'm going to ask you this is I have some other colleagues that are podcasters, and they're specifically in the outdoor space. And one of them in particular chats with equipment manufacturers about the latest, greatest, whatever, knife, camping gear, backpack, etc. What I'm curious about for you, John, in kind of the evolution of you being out here, because there's a lot of changes that go on in the industry, the folks that equip folks that want to get out there. But is there a particular piece of equipment, clothing, food that it's like, this just brings back not only good memories, but I love having this with me when I'm out and enjoying my hikes and my time outdoors? Anything in particular that you would kind of want to share with our listeners?
Boy, that's another tough one.
I saved them all for the end. I'm sorry.
Comfortable shoes and pants. That's about a good quality, when you're hiking, good quality hiking shoes and pants make a huge difference. And for your terrain as well. I have some shoes, some hiking boots that I really like, but they have kind of a hard sole, so they're not grippy, which is when you're going up rocks, scrambling up some rocks, that doesn't work too well for you. So then I went out and got some grippy ones, and they made a big difference. But for me, yeah, going out is my clothing is probably the most important thing to me, and having good quality clothing when you go out and hike really makes a big difference. And then of course, if you're a backpack that's comfortable, because I always carry a hydration backpack with a first aid. So I have water there. Then I always put more bottles of water inside of it. But I always keep a first aid kit, a good size first aid kit that I take wherever we go, just in case something happens, and always extra water in case somebody runs out. Backup batteries in case, I throw a GPS in there too that doesn't, because even your phone will work as a GPS if it doesn't have signal. So you can, if you have a backup battery, I do that too. But those are my go-to things when I go out and hike, that just really, I wouldn't feel right if I was out there without those things.
Okay. Now, this is the last, perhaps most important question that I am going to ask you today. Have you gone on a walk talk with Erin?
No, I haven't.
You haven't? Wow.
No, I didn't even know about the walk talks with Erin.
You're going to have to ask her about the walk
Okay.
talks. So
Okay.
you have to go back and listen to the episode I did with Erin.
Okay.
So how are you going to go to her after this call and say, Erin, what's a walk talk?
Yeah, what's a walk
ask
talk?
me about that.
I want to go on this. Yeah.
You have to. I'm
Yeah,
going on one, I think, in a week or two with her.
Oh, okay.
All right. You got to find out.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with her and find out what's the walk talk. I'm interested.
There you go.
Now, on that same subject, that's one of the most interesting things about working in the BLM and being a public affairs specialist in BLM is the interesting people I meet who work at the BLM. So I work with biologists and archaeologists and geologists and all those ologists, and just going on a hike where we're doing a thing and just listening to them talk. It's like I don't have to talk the entire time. I mean, it's just listening to them talk is just so fascinating. We had to go out and check out a user created trail that was an unauthorized trail that was going, it was a bike trail and it was going through wilderness area, and you can't have bikes in wilderness areas. So we are walking it to figure out where everything is and what needed to be done to restore it. And I went out with a wilderness specialist, a biologist, and an archaeologist. And we walked down this 7-mile long trail, and it was amazing just sitting there, just walking along with them and listening to them talk about all the different things that you were walking past, that it was like a guided tour, but we were working. And it's just, and that sort of thing happens all the time. When I go out and do things, I'm with one of the ologists or a few of them, and there's just listening to them talk and just learning so much out of them. And then we have the Giuliani beetle over at Big Dune. That's about to come out here end of April. They only come out once a year for about 2 weeks, and they only come out for 45 minutes each night. Oh. And I went out on one of those with the biologist and a few other people, and it was the most amazing thing I had ever seen. It's just, and there's all these little things, and going out with these people and having them explain things to you, just as part of their job, is just, it's the best part of working for in land management is the people who work here, and the diversity of knowledge that's out there that you just get organically from them just by doing your job.
That's fantastic. And John, I often share with listeners and my guests for that matter, that I am a very opportunistic podcaster. And typically I'm asking my guest, hey, I'd love some pictures of you doing this adventure that you were on. Now I know I can go out to the BLM site and get pictures, and we'll talk about that later, but that's not how I'm going to be opportunistic with you. Okay. I would love somehow to have conversations with those scientists that you've just described, because I think those are wonderful stories for them to be able to share what they do in their day-to-day work with our listeners. And I think it's a great way to educate them about science and land management, being outdoors. So if you're up for helping to make some of those introductions, I
Oh
would
yeah.
love to have him on the podcast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have some biologists and archaeologists that you could just talk your ear off for 45 minutes. There, yeah, that's definitely something we could set up.
I love that. I love that. Listen, before we head out, if our listeners would like to learn more about the Bureau of Land Management, the work that you're doing here in Southern Nevada, where are the best places for them to go?
Well, the best place to learn about the Bureau of Land Management, the BLM website at www.blm.gov. And then if you want to get more in touch with what's going on with the BLM in Nevada, our Facebook page for BLM Nevada, if you just go to Facebook and search for BLM Nevada, that'll take you to the Bureau of Land Management page for Nevada. And you get to see, everything that's going on in Nevada. We put a lot of stuff up there, interpretive type stuff for Red Rock Canyon, but there's also come in from the California Trail Center up north and things from Battle Mountain District and Ely District and Carson City District and Winnemucca. So there's a lot of information there. So that's a good place to go and find out more about the BLM.
Perfect. And we will definitely provide the backlinks to the BLM website. And I know your district it has a page there as well. We'll provide that link, and it's also to the Facebook page. John, it's been a pleasure to have you as our guest on the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. I am going to thank Aaron again for making that introduction while you ask Aaron what's a walk talk. So thank you for your time. I know you're being a public affairs specialist. You've got a lot going on, and we really appreciate it. And I know our listeners will appreciate it as well for you being here, joining us and sharing about the BLM, especially what's going on in the Southern Nevada district.
Well, thank you for allowing me the opportunity.
Fantastic. Listen, hang on the line. We're going to do a quick close and I can have a final chat. Okay. Very good. All right, folks. What a fantastic episode. We have been chatting with John Asselin. He is the public affairs specialist for the Bureau of Land Management here at the Southern Nevada District Office. And I had the pleasure of being introduced to him by one of our earlier guests, Aaron McDermott, who's the executive director of Red Rock Canyon, Friends of Red Rock Canyon Conservation Area. And really, what an experience chatting with John about his work, what the mission of the Bureau of Land Management is, or the BLM. I think it's easier to say that this early in the morning, BLM. And I have had the pleasure of car camping and enjoying sunsets and sunrises and taking some dark sky photos on BLM land. And what a pleasure to learn more about it. And I'm excited with the possibility of chatting with more of the staff at the BLM, the archaeologists, the ecologists, all the ologists, as John had said, and just what a fantastic learning experience, and also hopefully the ability to provide some educational information to folks perhaps who are looking for a career in land management and are interested in the work of the BLM, perhaps even here in Nevada or even the Southern Nevada District Office. Folks, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Do let us know. You can leave comments for us on the Outdoor Adventure Series website, outdooradventureseries.com. We are also on Facebook, and we have our page on LinkedIn, the Outdoor Adventure Series, and we are also on all of the major podcasting platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Audible, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Listen Notes. My God, we're everywhere. And we would love to hear from you what you thought of this episode or any of our other episodes. And also do share these with friends, family, anybody you think would be interested in learning more about the outdoors, outdoor adventure, land management, public affairs, lots of opportunities to learn and enjoy and get some great content. Okay, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day. Have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves, your family, and we will see you on a future episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. Take care now.